All right, what is up, guys? This is Andrew with Combat Art Training. Sorry for the delay. We have had a lot of audio problems going on, and now I think we have it figured out. Anyways, coming up, I am going to drop a link in the comments. There's a lot of classes going on. First up is going to be March 29th at Air Strength Facility in Leesburg, Florida. Pistol Skills 1, Pistol Cheat Codes. Then we have in April 5th and 6th, Carry Pistol 1 in Mayaka, Florida. Then April 19th through the 21st, 3 days of Force on Force, which is badass, with Tremis Dynamics up in Pennsylvania, Mount Carmel, PA. So Proving Grounds Pistol, Killing Fields, and then Art of the Bad Guy. Art of the Bad Guy basically will select, hey, you're the good guy. Each person gets individual roles. No one knows what each other's roles are, but we'll be like, hey, you're a bystander. You need to film everything. You're a bystander. You need to have an ND. You're a bystander. You need to scream and freak out. You're a bystander. Just don't comply with anything. And then the bad guy, we've got a bunch of bad guy roles. Steal baby. Hey, you need to stab this person. Something like that. It's a mental exercise in what it's like to be a bad guy, considering how you're probably not a sociopath, psychopath, maybe a little bit of a narcissist, but not that bad. To see it from the other side and gain a little bit of perspective, and it's also going to help you with coolness under pressure, especially when you're the bad guy. Then after that, in PA, Brooksville, Pennsylvania, April 26th and 27th, we have Patrolling the Homestead with Jay Gibson from Praelectus Training. Then May, I'll be in North Carolina, Pistol Skills 1 and Proving Grounds Pistol, Force on Force. Then May, I'll be back here taking a class with Coast to Coast Tactical. Then Mayaka, Pistol Skills 1, and then Proving Grounds Pistol in Mayaka the day after. And then we'll be going to Ohio for Patrolling the Homestead, Somerset, Ohio, May 31st and June 1st. Then Combat Shotgun, June 8th in Leesburg, Florida. Then back to Ohio for Pistol Skills 1 and Proving Grounds Pistol. Big announcement at the end of this. It's not been posted yet. You may have heard it from 2 people, maybe more. But there is an event going on in Kentucky in September, and I will give you some details at the end. Now, I have one of my friends. He's also a student of mine. He took Pistol Skills 1, Pistol Cheat Codes with me in Kentucky recently. He, I think, was the best shooter at that class, and he is a competition shooter, but he's not just a competition shooter. Like, his brain is much bigger than that. He has done classes from within the civilian gunfighter training schools circles, and he also does competition. And instead of like someone who doesn't do competition talking about the good and the bad from it, I wanted to bring Sean on to talk about it. He also has his channel, Firearms&Fitness. Here is Sean. All right, now I'm going to make it to your screen. Pops up next to mine. All right, there we go. Now I'm dropping a link to the calendar, the training calendar. Oh, also, heads up, we're going to do Pistol Skills 1, Pistol Cheat Codes the day before Alumni Weekend at Tactical Response. All right, Sean, why don't you give them a little history of like what your training was, what kind of got you into all this, and what got you into competition. Then I'm going to be asking you some questions on competition shooting. Go ahead.
Hey everybody, I'm Sean Mons. I'm with Firearms&Fitness. That's my channel if you guys ever want to come check it out. I am a competitive strongman. I also compete in USPSA, 2-gun, sometimes IDPA, but I do avoid that particular type of competition as much as possible. What got me started in firearms in general, like as a kid, I was always kind of interested in old military firearms and that kind of stuff. And however, though, early on, I was fairly anti-gun. I didn't think many people should own a firearm. And then my buddy Steven, way back when, kind of challenged me on some of my thoughts. And I've since obviously changed my tune on that. I believe all civilians, as long as you are legal, able to, should probably possess a firearm and possess something to protect yourself, your country, and your fellow man. Now, I've been to several different schools. My first school class was with James Yeager at Tactical Response back in, I want to say it's either 2013 or 2014, and that's what kind of kicked off my training sphere. And I've trained over at Thunder Ranch. I've trained with Travis Haley, and the list kind of goes on from there. More recent classes, I've been with Scott Jelinski at Modern Samurai Project. He's a great class to take from. Obviously, Andrew at Combat Arts Training, fantastic class and whatnot, and something that kind of regrounded me because for a while there, I did kind of get lost in the performance side of firearms, and unfortunately, that's not what the community needs. It's also there's a lot of bad things that kind of come with competition. There's a lot of great things. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't compete if I didn't think there was some great stuff with it. However, there is obviously some bad things that kind of come with it. And I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of what else to kind of say here. All in all, though, I'm excited to be here. I've been shooting going on. I don't know, 8-9 years now. I haven't been shooting that long, but in a short period of time, I just learned who to train with and how to get better. If you can't,
You're like,
can't tell, I'm
can you
nervous.
talk to me too? Yeah. All right. Very good.
Yeah.
So, and then Sean has a YouTube channel, Firearms and Fitness. In the description, you should get a link to a video that he did saying, I believe it was called "Competition Shooting Will Not Get You Killed in the Streets," and spelled DAH, I believe. So, because that's like I did a video, a live stream not too long ago, saying stop being NPCs. And one of the things I said in there is that like there's NPCs everywhere. Like we have NPCs too, like my circle. And that is one of the things that they say is that competition shooting will get you killed in the streets. Like, or that doesn't apply to real life. I've never heard a shot timer in a gunfight, all that. And one of the things I've been saying for a long time is like you can find value in everything. You just have to actually be looking for it. So what was the things that inspired you to make that video? Because there probably was something where you're like, fuck, I gotta make the video now.
So this goes back a few years ago now. I used to have a very solid mentality against competition in general because it's gamer stuff, everything everybody else has kind of heard. However, I've always idolized really good shooters. Now, how do people get better at shooting? They practice, right? But how do they learn to practice? You have to actually know what to practice. So you go through training. All right. Now, unfortunately, let me rephrase that. Training is awesome. It teaches you what and how to practice. And that's all competition is practice. Anybody that tells you it's training is incorrect. It's my personal opinion. You're incorrect on that. You're doing a series of drills. It's practicing. But unfortunately, a lot of people can't get out to certain, all right, so a lot of gun clubs full up on membership. Good luck getting in. You're waiting 6 months, a year, 2 years maybe to get into a gun club, especially up in the Northeast. That's where I used to compete at. And then you have the exorbitant cost of like $1,200 a year, $1,500 a year to try to get into a gun club. Some are cheaper, but excuse me. Oh, that was nasty. Anyway, so some some gun clubs are a little bit cheaper, of course, and you can find them around. However, it's also what does that gun club offer? There's a gun club around me. It's about 4 hours away from me. It's Peacemakers. They're fairly expensive, but they also have a 1,000-yard range. And then there's one that's closer to me, and I think in Midlothian, that's $300 a year. However, they don't have any place for you to shoot rifles. It's all pistol related. So, there's good and bad and everything. Now, what competition gets you to do is be able to practice some of those things that you learned in classes, such as movement, drawing, there's a lot of FUD ranges still around where one
Yeah.
round per second, 1 round per 2 seconds. You can't load your magazines past 10 rounds. Human like that. And here's the thing: if that's all you have, it is on you to figure out how to practice. But you have all these FUD
Yeah.
ranges around. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of FUDs in competition. There's so that like, but um, being able to actually go out and practice these things that you learned in class is something you can do at a competition. Are you going to be as competitive? Maybe. And I do say maybe because um, one of the good and bad things about competition is it's open to everyone. And that's a good and a bad thing. All right, so take that for what it's worth. It's a good thing because no matter what skill level you're at, you have some place to actually go to practice. The bad thing is it lets in every skill level. And that ranges from people that just bought a gun and don't know which end to point. That ranges to people that are the super high tier operators who have, killed more people than smallpox. All right, so you get the mix. But unfortunately, almost all competitions have to kind of settle for the lowest ringer, and that's where you get a lot of these training
Yeah.
scars that I see from. Um, Now, again, like I said, there's a lot of good things like target transitions, identifying targets, like identifying learning to when to put the brakes on, when to step the gas up, learning what is good enough. Something I saw a lot in your sphere, the tactical sphere, is people want that very precise, like infinitesimal sight picture before they break the shot. I have to fire, reconfirm that sight 100% fire, and it's very slow. So and when I say slow, let me qualify what slow is. All right, it's like 1 round every zero point 0.7 seconds. All right. Some people that might be impressive, but I think you should get to the point where you're able to break a round accurately every zero point 0.3 seconds. All right, that's a very easy thing to
Yeah.
match and get to.
Yeah.
And not only that,
It's very
um,
obtainable.
you're very obtainable. And not only that, actually, if you go to competitions and you're accurately breaking out zero point 0.3 splits, you will easily come in top half. All right, easily come in top half on stand and deliver stages, uh, on general stages, as long as you have a kind of an idea what you're doing and stuff in that manner. However, where you're going to fall off is there is obviously some gamer stuff to this, where you'll see, and this more goes to like the masters, grandmasters, and maybe some class A level shooters, um, where now stage planning is really the big thing, and then learning those tiny little things that make the 10th second difference uh, that shave it off here, shave it off there, but ultimately will add up to like a second at the end of the at the end of the stage, which should be the difference between winning and losing. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to take anything from A class shooters, master class shooters, and grandmasters by no means. What I'm saying though is there is at that point a certain amount of gamership that you have to do in order to win, and this can be included.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it just is what it
And
is.
so a couple of yeah, so a couple of things on the things you said that I agree with all of it. Number one, like, hey, I don't have a place where I can fucking do anything cool with a gun. I can only do fucking one shot a second and get screamed at if my gun goes slightly up or slightly whatever. And I'm gonna get
Mhm.
screamed at by someone who does not know the firearm safety rules to begin with. Like, I totally get that. Like, you're taking an opportunity to practice. That's totally fair.
Mhm.
And they're, the also saying like, one of the things I'm trying to do, especially with the pistol skills one class, is to get our circle better at shooting. And we'll talk more on the direction I'm trying to go with that right now. I just taught a collaborative class with Sonny Pazikis and Lewis Karras down at Sonny's place, and it's like, all right, I'm really thinking the things we are doing there is gonna be kind of one of the defining directions that I'm trying to go to, and I hope others do too. But like you said, let's get them to at least making accurate shots with 0.3 splits. And so what that means to someone who doesn't do shot timer stuff would be like a just, like 4 shots a second is 0.25 splits. So that's a little bit slower than that, but it's very obtainable. It's very obtainable. Like I would argue like the class you took with me, someone could take that, practice that stuff for a few months, and I think they could get there.
I honestly think at the end of your class they could get there. Not trying to toot your own horn or anything. So this goes back to, I believe people should get training. All right.
Yeah.
Just solid out. Like, all right. So when I first started shooting, I was in the military, right? And when you're in the military, you know everything. All right. I was in the Air Force, so obviously I knew everything. I was the smart branch.
I was the same way. Yeah.
When I say with a pistol, I could not hit a humanoid-sized target at 3 yards. Okay. Carte blanche. Yeah. All right. And I had every excuse in the book too. The sights must be off because there's no way I'm bad at this. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just there's so much stuff that kind of comes into it,
man.
And then so then obviously I kind of kicked myself down the road a little bit, and I think 22 was the first time I started quote unquote shooting when I was 18, 19. And I do have to put air quotes in there. I was just shooting at stuff. Then like I said, I took a class with James Yeager at Tactical Response, and as silly as this sounds, a lot of the things that I had been doing wrong were very quickly corrected because he had good instruction, he had a good curriculum, it was easy to follow, and I got a lot better very quickly. I think back then it was like $500 for the 2-day class or something like that. You got more than your money's worth as far as I was concerned out there. So like doing that, taking a class from somebody that is reputable, I have to kind of put that in there because there's a bunch of Joe Schmoes that will teach you to shoot, but I wouldn't trust to hold a candle.
Yeah, I would say even though that is true, like if you're listening to this and you're like, I've never taken a class, so I'm gonna hold out for the fucking perfect guy, man. If the 1 or 2 days of time and the money isn't gonna kill you, it might be worth it to give it a fair shot. Like even though I've trained with a lot of big names, I actually was thinking about just sneaking, like not saying anything about what I do and just going and taking some other classes from guys that are brand new. Because there are some good things, and like, you can ask any of my friends, fucking a lot of people you won't find out about because they don't make any video content, they don't advertise. Like there's some great people you will never know because of that. Like there's some guys I've trained with that like no one knows who the fuck they are, but I learned some good shit from them that I still apply. But on your point of like take training, that's one of the things that I think is the problem within people looking at doing competition, because I have had competition shooters come through class and I'm like, why did you even bother with competition? Like you're not good. I didn't say that to them, but it's like, that's what I was seeing. I'm like, you said you shoot competition, so I'm expecting to see a level of performance that's just not there. Maybe though, that was the positive, that they went there and were like, I suck, and then they took training. I think I agree with you on like take training first, so you know what to do, what to practice. You have guidelines, you have a roadmap, and then if you need, we'll talk more on the other benefits, but especially if you're like, I don't have a place to do cool gun stuff and I can only be static shooting 1 round a second, then yeah, take advantage of it. Go there. So what was your thoughts? I think I was holding you back on something.
Oh no, you're good. So I will admit that you should, even your local guys, totally, it can be great. Some people, like you said, you never even would have heard of or anything like that. My only caveat to that is I would rather somebody take a class from somebody that's established, because to me, it gives you a roadmap to sniff out better bullshit.
Yeah.
So for instance, if I was a nuclear physicist, right, and you know nothing about nuclear physics, I can bullshit you about a bunch of stuff. But if you got a nuclear physics degree, you can probably call me out on my bullshit, right? So having something, a pillar to stand on, and kind of be able to help sniff out bullshit, because there's a lot of Israeli carry. That's something I like brigade against. I cannot stand that. I don't know why this hasn't died yet. Because especially now, recently my feed has been nothing but Israeli carry advocates and whatnot. And goodness gracious, there's few people that are worse than them. All right, but there's not many. All right, I do genuinely think they're a plague upon this earth. Um, I don't know how else to say that. But so, when you go to a reputable place like Tactical Response, your place, Thunder Ranch, all these established people, you kind of get this sniff the BS. And like I said, I won't call out the one dude I said I want my money back from. But if it wasn't for the fact that I took classes from much more reputable people, I wouldn't have been able to be like, give me that back. So it's one of those things where I would, class is great. Take as many as you can. Caveat, don't take so many that you're not learning anything, because that's a possibility too. You need to practice what you've been taught. All right. If at least give it 6 months on what you've been taught, learn what you were taught, and then maybe go see somebody else. When you get a little bit better, you can take classes every month for all I care, because you have a base to stand on. All you're doing is maybe taking one thing here, one thing there, versus you need a toolbox.
You gotta pay the bills. Like if you're not paying the bills, as in practicing the things you learned, what you learned will get repoed. And then, honestly,
very quickly,
you wasted your time, energy, and money, but you also wasted the instructor's time. I mean, he got your money, but like the good instructors I know, they want to see you progress, and it's like it hurts to see a guy not progress, because that happens. It's like, because that's the other side of this, is that you can take all the training in the world, but if you're not practicing that shit, what are you fucking doing? Are you just going there for recreation? And that's okay, but like talking to the ones and nines, the guys that are actually really trying to get better, you gotta pay your dues.
Yeah. Another thing too, is as far as like a competition guy going to competition and then coming to your class and then sucking. You know how often I see people at competition that have been shooting for years? These are FUDs. First off, the people I'm about to talk about. I've been shooting for years, and you can't get out of the bottom 10 of that. Are you kidding me? There's no way. There's no way. I'm a great shooter. All right. I see a lot of cops that say, "Oh, I'm a great shooter, can barely pass the qual," but like, if you've been shooting comps and whatnot, a lot of times I've used, for instance, I have two friends, great guys, they really are, but I have two friends that they told me they were excellent shooters. We did a quick training day, and very quickly I learned there's just a large skill gap that they're not going to be able to train with me. And they didn't quite understand that. So what I decided to do was take them, all right, let's just go to a competition. Now, here's the thing. Competitions teach you hard skills. They don't teach you soft skills. Plain and simple. I was hoping by them coming literally dead last and second to dead last, that they would be like, oh, I should get more training. And you know what happened? They did that. They said, oh, I need to go get more training. I actually don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And one I think is going to a class in October with I want to say regular guy training, but I'm not 100% sure. And the other one is just saving up pennies to go get your training, which is cool, and something I think is great. But so I do use sometimes competition as a wake up call to people, and that's sometimes what they really need, is just an absolute wake up that you're not that good for the longest time. So my background, I've worked for the Department of Corrections since 2013. I was an officer for the longest time. I'm not an officer anymore. I'm old and broken, so I was like, nah, this ain't for me no more. I'm tired of getting punched in the face over nothing. Now I work for a milk plant.
Yeah.
But my standing offer for the longest time when I was an officer was, if you come to a competition, any competition, you just invite me to it, any of them, and you beat me, I'll give you $1,000. But if you lose, you have to go take a training class somewhere of my choice.
Ooh.
That was, and nobody ever took me up on the offer, by the way. I had $1,000 set aside just for that. And to this day, I still claim I'm the best shooter in DOC. Like I said, I love my job. I truly do. All right.
Yeah.
But there's a rule. Put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I was SRT, I did all the cool guy stuff. It's just, but you get these people. Here's a good story. For instance, so we're taking a shotgun class. It's a tactical shotgun class. All right, cool. I've taken one of these before. No big deal. I took it with tactical response way back when. Hate shotguns. All right, my least favorite option out there because I'm a punk and I hate the recoil. But so we're taking this class and they're like, oh, you're going to shoot like 500 rounds today. And I was like, all right, cool beans. And they're going through. They got some techniques that make sense to me. There's some techniques that I was like, I don't know where the fuck you came up with that, but whatever. I'm here to learn. And then we go to do the course at the end. Now, first off, we're doing the first portion, and they're trying to teach us how to go fast with it. Cool beans, I'm all for that. This instructor proceeds to miss every shot at 15 yards on a cue target. So one went low, one went high, one went low, one went high, one went low. And then now, naturally, you have all the students watching him. And I'm kind of at an angle where I can see his target as well. And I was like, oh, bro, don't. And of course, officers, because most people are just low information shooters, or like, oh, that was really cool. That was really fast. I don't care how fast you go if you don't hit the target. That's to me. I said before in my video, something that immediately lets me know that you're an amateur is when your marksmanship is just poor. Two, your recoil management is poor. You're not safe with them. Because they did a lot of stuff that I just thought was wild. They were talking about in their training, they got pushed. In order to become an instructor, and I was like, why would you do that in a group of people that don't know what they're doing? It'd be different if it was like a Sims round or something like that. But why would you unexpectedly push somebody that's got a firearm? All right, it's just. I understand there's probably like different limits and whatnot. I don't have the context because I wasn't there at the class. However, they're talking this up like this is just some cool guy stuff they got to do. And again, me having a background in training, I can sniff bullshit. All right. Now again, I'm there for work, so
there are it's actually an exercise that's been around for a while. It does have value. Pushing someone while they have like their finger on the trigger. In context, you wouldn't want to start with a loaded gun. You wouldn't want to start with someone on their first day, necessarily, right? But thinking about like having control on whether or not you press the trigger. Like for me, I have a stimulus because I was at an IED explosion where I am highly likely to press the trigger. I think we talked about that in class. If there's a loud boom, right? So that's something that like I have to be cognitive in given situations. And so it may have been an okay thing, but if you saw the performance of the instructor overall was not good, then it's also like maybe not the time to be talking about the cool guy story.
So yeah, that's the thing. Like I said, context is everything. And I try not to pass judgment on things that I do not have context on. All right. Mostly because it makes you look like a jackass. Just plain and simple. So like I said, but in story and whatnot, it just seemed like he was trying to talk out of his ass.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point I'm making is to say this is go get training, go get quality training, and then go to competitions to either practice. Okay, to here's the issue with competitions, and here's the thing. Let me list some great things about a competition. One, the environment's normally very friendly. All right. Do you have some tool bags out there? Yes, there's tool bags and everything. All
Mhm.
right. You're going to learn very quickly what does and does not work. Um, you're going to learn very quickly how to be safe with a firearm, because if you don't, you're going to get DQ'd. All right. And rightfully so. You should be. All right. If you're not being safe, you're putting other people in danger. All right. And here's the thing, getting DQ'd is not the end of the world. However, it does very quickly reinforce a better habit. And some of the things you can get DQ'd on, it's not even just breaking the 180 or whatnot, which is a training scar in itself. Let me start by saying that. If you're learning to watch the 180 is a very bad training scar that I even struggle with. And here's the thing, I have a range all to myself. And every now and then I will catch myself. Um, Finger gun. The YouTube, don't ban us. Anyway, so every now and then I'll catch myself firing and then turning and then have to break that habit of either doing high tempo or low. That is a very bad training scar. Because here's the thing, there's no 180 in real life. Now, is there a safe direction? Yes, it might. Its safe direction might only be but do you really want to be turning and not really knowing where that muzzle is? All right, because as far as competition is concerned, excuse me, as long as you turn and it's downrange, they don't really care where it goes because nobody's downrange. All right, and that's a bad training scar. But something else that'll get you hit though. Say you're reloading and you got your finger on the trigger. All right. So the moment that gun comes up and off a target, that finger has to be straight. You'll get DQ'd. Say you're moving with your finger on the trigger, but you're not on target. All right, that is a very big distinction there. Like you have come off gun and you're moving, but your finger's on the trigger, DQ'd. All right, rightfully so. It's very dangerous. Don't be doing that. Because if you fall, you might shoot something. If you drop your gun, all right, you're going to get DQ'd. And now this kind of helps and doesn't help because, say, you'll get these people that do like these scoops out of their holster, which is the only relevant in like gamer stuff. The scoop draw, where you basically just come up in one fluid motion versus up, back, down, master grip, and just use that that bounce basically to come out of the holster. It's a little quicker.
There is
like a tenth of a second.
You can do scoop draw in a gunfighting context too. Like that's one Sonny teaches. It's one that I think Barrel and Hatchet mentioned it. Your gear has to work for it. There's more nuance, but when you really break down like eliminating excessive motion out of the draw, which we didn't do at all in my class, there actually can be advantages. Like Green Force Tactical had a holster designed by Sonny. Like he was like, make it do this. And it actually is meant for a scoop draw. It's eliminating excessive motion, which can lead to overall efficiency, but also like thinking about like if you're about to draw your gun and maybe the guy's not pointing at you and you don't want to raise more attention by doing like that stuff during it, there can be it. But now, did you say, because this is a major point, that you're DQ'd if you drop your gun?
Yeah. So if you drop your, okay, so let me phrase that. As long as the timer has not started. All right. So say you're out walking around, it's between stages or whatnot. You lean over, your gun drops out. Cool. You have to go find an RO to go pick it up and give it back to you. And you look silly. You won't get DQ'd. You might get yelled at, but you won't get DQ'd. If once that buzzer goes off, say you try, let's say the scoop draw, and you totally fumble that and it goes flying, DQ'd. If you say you're shooting through a window and you try to come across and it smacks the back of your hand opens up, the gun drops, DQ'd.
Now, something I've heard but I haven't confirmed yet is like, have guys shot themselves trying to catch guns?
Yes, 100%. 100%. I haven't yet to see it. I do have a couple friends though that have seen it. Now, but another big reason why dropping your gun though in competition is kind of bad. A lot of those guns are not drop safe.
Yep.
Especially the open. Okay, one of the biggest things people do is get rid of that firing pin plunger, the firing pin block off of all guns. It's like normally the first thing once you get into that gamer mode people do because it's a cleaner trigger pull, and immediately makes your gun not drop safe. I don't care what gun you have and whatnot, it just makes it not drop safe. A lot of 1911s are not drop safe. This is not a ring against 1911s or anything or any kind of brand, but a lot of them are not drop safe. Most 2011s are not drop safe. The 320 is questionable at this point. We're not going to get sued over that, but there's there's plenty of guns out there that are just truly not drop safe. But not only that, you're on peak gravel as well. So say it does get flung, and somehow, some way, some of that peak gravel gets in there and pulls the trigger. Still not a good day. I've never really seen that, but there's a million and one different things that can happen.
There was
another thing that can get you DQ'd as well.
Oh, there's one thing I saw like 2 years ago, and I think it happened in Florida, ND while reholstering, and people were like, his safety should have been on, and I call it an ND. Like an ND would be the wrong person or the wrong thing gets shot, or you were breaking the safety rules. Okay. An accident would be a mechanical failure of the gun. So like, this gun, from all of my knowledge, should be functioning just fine. Good brand, good track record, all that. And you rack it or something and it goes off, but your finger wasn't touching the trigger and no one got hurt and nothing that should have gotten shot, right? But the dude with the gamer gun reholstering, fuck that. That's an ND to me. Because like that's a negligent, like that you turn your gun into a hand grenade. That's what I'm trying to say.
So that is actually something I've seen 3 separate times.
Holy fuck.
All right, in competition. And so yeah, 3 separate times. One was with a definitely like an open rig gun, the ones with the handles that you rack on, the big skirts on the bottom for the quick reloads, the frame mounted red dot.
A practical gun, right?
With the half-pound trigger pull. Yeah, very practical, super practical. Something you can still carry every day.
Yeah.
So I've seen one with that, which that to me that was like waiting to happen, honestly. And then the other 2 were with Glocks, but they're not just any Glocks; they're super modified Glocks. And here's the thing: I'm not against God modifications. I'm not, as long as it makes sense, it's safe, and it's from a reputable company. However, both of those had their firing pin blocks removed, and for a cleaner trigger pull. Now, here's what happens with most striker fired or like any gun that has a hammer or anything like that. There are surfaces that get worn down with excessive use. What do competition shooters do a lot? They shoot a lot. All right. Now, a lot of it's underpowered ammunition, but nonetheless, you're having this sear go back and forth constantly. I know a lot of competition shooters that shoot minimum 10,000 rounds a year, but they might only own one competition gun. And that's the gun they shoot constantly. Surfaces get worn down and whatnot, and removing that safety screws you, because the first time what happened was with the Glock, and he was reholstering, and then I think he just kind of twisted real quick, and the gun went off in holster. All right, scared the hell out of everybody. By the way, that was one of the wildest things I'd ever seen. Again, breaking down the gun, he got DQ'd, and he should be so. All right, because you have as far as we're concerned, we don't. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I had posted a video. I did one with Gary from Tremis, and then I posted my own on like looking at the holster or not, right? And the basic thing is like, okay, sometimes it's too dark to look at your holster, and it wouldn't make sense to be like, this is where I am, so I can see my holster with a flashlight, or you're trying to hide or whatever. So it could be too dark. Your eyes could be fucked up. The gun might not be in a position where you can see it, as in like gears blocking it, belly's blocking it, boobs are blocking it, or it's in a weird 6 o'clock thing. And then also like
Yeah.
it could be just simply that you do want to maintain situational awareness, you know. And so one of the examples in there
Mm-hmm.
that I showed on video was because like I tried to find videos where looking at the holster would have saved them. Now, of course, not every ND is on video, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Yep.
one of them that I saw, it was, I think, from comments and stuff, what I gathered, and it's all third person hearing it, was it was a Glock 43 wearing appendix. He put it in, he watched that bitch go in, and then as he walked away, bam. So I'm thinking the safety plunger may have been that thing. That's something I want to research a little bit more. But the funny part on this is I think me and one other person, that's Gary from Tremis, we're the only people who have ever been like,
Mm-hmm.
why don't we unload guns, put stuff in our holster, and try to make it go off? You know, like, okay, imagine this is the
A
trigger
lot.
guard going like that and then putting it in. Or the string with a toggle on a jacket. That can make it happen, but it's actually
Mm-hmm.
really fucking hard to make it go off just reholstering. So that's interesting. The plunger.
So yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's just a lot of times. So okay, the line perfectly safe. All right, it's the gunsmiths in us because we need a tinker. All right, it's just like that Honda. Man, it doesn't go fast enough, does it? I bet you a second turbo will really make that thing fucking whistle. All right. All right, man. I mean, if you want to go through all that headache of getting it tuned and this and the other, but here's the thing: people don't want to do that. People don't know what different spring pressures do. They don't know. Like James Yeager had a famous one where he's talking about something that reduced the lock time of a Glock. You need for the lock time? No, stop fucking touching it. All right, you don't know these things. You think you do because you heard it from somebody else who also might be a fucking moron. All right. It's like we were at that class in Kentucky. There was one guy who had a comp Glock. All right, and he was having problems now and again. Not a lot of problems, but again, is a modified Glock, so he's having a little bit more problems with it. And I just kind of explained to him the great thing about compensators is yes, they do reduce recoil. The bad thing about compensators is you really have to be behind it. There's no room for error on compensated guns, unless you're shooting super hot ammo. You're making it harder for the gun to cycle because you're literally taking a lot of the back pressure off of it.
Hmm.
And well, that's the thing. A lot of people don't know that they'll slap a compensator on it, put really weak ass fucking ammo through it, and then wonder why it doesn't work anymore. Well, you might have to change the recoil spring from, I think Glocks are normally either 15 pounds or 17 pounds. It's one of the two. You might have to go from a 17 to a 15 or to a 13-pound spring. If you do that, though, you might have to change. There's like other things you might have to change down the line from it, from your disconnector, your striker spring, everything, and it becomes much more of an art than it does a
like
science.
it's a fucking carry gun.
Oh my goodness.
Well, let's
That
get
and that's the
off.
thing
Let's
too.
kind of
So
get off of the
that's a,
modifying guns part.
oh,
No, you're
sorry
good,
about
bro. But like, okay, so
that.
you were going down lists of good and bad. Continue that list.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so another really good thing about competition shooting is just learning your target transitions. I know I might have said that before, but I do think that is a skill that is not well learned by people. Because when you go to the range, normally you have a target that you get to work for. If you're clever, you can kind of make it work. But as a general rule, people don't know how to practice target transitions. They don't know the flow of how to do a target transition to make it more efficient. Because if we're transitioning targets, there's probably a reason why, right? There might be one, two, three additional people that mean to do you harm. And your best bet at that point is to put as many holes into each person so they can lose some hydraulic fluid so they stop messing around with you, or just scatter off and whatever. But being able to do that accurately, precisely, and with haste is something you'll learn in competition. Now, Another good thing you'll learn from competition, and this is something I kind of touched on but haven't really, is accuracy at speed, which is different than marksmanship.
Mhm.
Marksmanship is simply hitting the target you are aiming at. The accuracy at speed I define as giving you have a set amount of time that you need to get this amount of rounds into this set parameter. All right. So if we go to A zone, for instance, those on the on here that don't know what an A zone is, just Google
It's that
USPSA
part.
targets, and you'll see
Yeah,
what I'm
that
talking about.
part.
It's the
Yeah.
typical. Yeah, it kind of. They put it a little too low for
Yeah.
me, but it's neither
Yeah.
here nor there. Or the down zero or whatever. Pick your poison. If that's your acceptable range, all right. How fast can you go in order to make that acceptable? If C zone is acceptable, how fast can you go to make that acceptable? If the whole target is acceptable, how fast can you go? And here's the thing: distance plays a lot to that. Something that is within arm's reach. Do you think I'm aiming? I am aiming, just in a different way. I'm just using the back of the gun.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not making a very precise target because I want to hit the button on somebody's shirt. All right. If I'm at 25 yards, I have to refine my aiming a little bit because that acceptable uh, target is now much smaller, and I have to be a little more calm. Now, again, with skill, you'll be able to go faster no matter what.
So
However, here's the here's the caveat. Here's the bad part about the competition is the gamble. It teaches you to gamble too much. Way too much. No, don't get me wrong. You need practice for a reason. All right, because you need to know what you cannot get away with. All right. So there's that. However, in order to win competitions, you need to roll the dice far more often than you really should.
yeah. So
The amount of shooters I've seen. Mhm.
so one of
Go
the
ahead.
guys who he was like, don't I can't do this on video or whatever. He was there early, like before any of the organizations existed, right? He was there when they were just starting as
Mhm.
clubs and shit. And he's like, yeah, like I don't like what it's become because it's become a gamble more than anything. And now going back to like what you're saying with like accuracy at speed, a lot like what we talk about with aiming confirmation, like what do you really need to see to make this shot? That to me is like being able to read what level of confirmation you need, not just visually but also in the feel.
Mhm.
I think that is like one of the hardest things to develop. And yeah, I think competition shooting could be great for that. Now, one of the other things you're talking about on target zones, Gary and I have been joking about this like over and over about the shapes of the targets and shit. Like if you want to make that IDPA target with a little head that's like this, you know, if you want to make that usable, put a life-size picture of a real face on that, and it's actually very usable at that point. And also, like
Mhm.
thinking about the gaminess, if we're talking about, depends on the dynamics of the situation, but like the
Mhm.
thing that's practicing competition is doubles, 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 predictive shooting, predictive shooting, predictive shooting, 2 rounds each target, which, I'm not saying it's the wrong thing because you could think of like, well, those 3 targets are one dude moving, something like that, right?
Mhm.
You could up to it, but also um, in both competition and in the tactical realm, there is an abundant lack of brain shots, which is something
Mhm.
that we all need to practice more. You can never be too good at brain shots until you're letting your other skills lack. And, in talking in an overall preparedness round too, like I had made the mindset, mastering the fundamentals is a great way to avoid learning what's actually important. We'll come back to that,
Mhm.
but if you're only shooting, you're only doing competition shit and whatnot. What other things are you lacking? And if you were to make a pie chart of what preparedness is, what how big is the shooting part? Is it like that, or is it a little sliver? Because we can really go down the rabbit hole on what it takes to have people prepared. I would simply argue that like it's not enough, and we can
So
go.
I would definitely
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that there is a lack to an extent of head box shots and whatnot. Now, I will say this competition recently, as far as I can tell, has gotten a lot better about making no shoot targets in the way of an A zone hit.
Good.
So uh, for the most part, let me say that. Now, it also deeply depends on the match director. Some matches are much better than others. Some matches are run by FUDs. Some matches are run by people who want to develop practical skills, and some matches are developed by gamers. And so there are three. I say three different ones because there's good and bad with every one of them. The FUDs, I can't stand. For instance, I can't stand IVPA to save my life. Anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's probably the most fuddy bit of competition you could do. It's there's so many rules for something that's supposed to be a gunfight simulator, and so many silly rules. For instance, here's a great example. All right, so now they want you to shoot from cover, right? Well, here's the issue with that. What is shooting from cover? Do I have to have a foot behind cover? Do I have to have my most of my body behind cover? Can I only expose my shoulder, pistol, and head behind cover? All right. Well, they had so many issues judging that fairly that now they put fault lines. Okay, cool. Now there's a fault line. Here's the thing: I can stand at the end of the fault line, not be behind cover at all, and shoot my targets. But then the way they want you to shoot the targets, say there's an array of three. All right. There's one 15 yards down, 10 yards up, but slightly to the right of that one, and one 5 yards up, slightly to the right of that one. All right, and you hit the corner. Say there's barrels in the way, so you can't really see the array and whatnot because you don't get to walk the stage before. For the most part, you're not supposed to walk the stage for IVPA, again, gamer stuff. And you come up on that. So say you overshoot, right? What's in a real to me in a real life situation, say you're hearing gunfire around the corner and you're coming around the corner because you're coming to help and whatnot, and you don't know they're right there, but you come around and overshoot that corner. And they're all, let's say they're all armed the same, all whatever the same. What is the biggest threat to you? The one that's closest, probably, right? All right. So why wouldn't you want to shoot the one that's closest? Well, can't do that because you got to pie the corner. All right. That doesn't make sense to me because, again, time comes, time waits for nobody.
Yes.
All right. And if, say, you're at a mall or something or anywhere, your audience can figure this out. And there's a million different places you can be where you might be hauling ass to kind of get there, overshoot something that you probably shouldn't have overshot, but in your haste, you messed up. Now it's time to stand and deliver. And guess what? Motherfucker close to me is getting. I apologize. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse.
Yeah, you can. Go ahead. I love
the sucker close to. Okay. Yeah, I do too.
The retards out.
But right. But dude, man, real close to me is about to get a whole lot of ventilation in him. All right, and as I'm getting back to cover, I can swing back and get the dude that's further out and further out, and then I can re-engage from cover by either taking a knee, reassessing my situation, topping off, whatever. Another thing that IDPA doesn't allow you to do, and this is why I won't shoot it, it's a very funny thing to me, is they won't let you just top off the gun whenever you want to. And I think that's dumb. They think you gun has to run dry, or you have to tactically reload, which is again, I understand that your audience might know this, but for everybody else that might be watching this, you tactically reload, which means you must grab your magazine, take the other magazine out, retain that magazine, put new magazine in, and then go. Dumb, absolutely dumb.
Yeah.
Especially if you're using a pistol, fuck that magazine. All right, fuck that magazine. I just put 15 rounds back in. I don't care about the 12, the 10, the 5 that might be in that other magazine. If I need it, I'll come back to it.
I carry.
All right.
But
as of right now,
yeah, I carry a Glock 45 with 2 spare mags, and then I'm sending it back. But normally, and then I have a gun on my ankle with 10 rounds with a spare mag for that. I don't give a fuck about retaining mags. Like and it's something, you know, talking about like time never doesn't wait. And it's funny that we're talking about this too, because Calvin and I are going to be doing a class at Aries in June. I just have to book it and all that. And it's going to be like cover will be involved, but it's more about the moving target and you being able to shoot on the move. Because like, it's a phrase that it's like, I use cover, and it's always a cope for trash tactics, techniques, and skills behind cover. My fucking force field. Don't worry, I practice this with barrels. And then, you're at a gas station and everything is shit cover. All it is like kind of concealment that they saw you go behind. And what do you have to do to defeat someone's cover? It's not get a bigger gun. It just go where they're move and position, and you have defeated their cover if you do that properly. I would argue, well, like someone was talking about what body armor should I get in one of my friends' channels, and I commented force on force will prevent you from getting shot in your vitals more than the best body armor will. And I would also argue that it will teach you
100%.
about cover better than any drill in any class. Because also, I've had cover drills in my classes where I'm like, they're really, so I changed the way I taught cover because it became
100%
similar to an IDPA match. And I was like, this isn't fucking working.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. My phone is about to die. I'm just going to plug it in real quick. So if you have somebody in the chat you want to talk to,
I'm going to talk on.
Go for that.
All right. So within the things we have covered
No.
On the safety aspect, this is a point I wanted to hit. I've already had this conversation with Sean about it in a sense that for safety, the more safe you try to make things, the less competent people will become. Okay. And that sounds like I disregard safety. I'm not saying I disregard safety. I'm saying there's 4 rules. And the more you add other rules to them, the less competent people will be. So unloading guns, this direction, 180 rule, stuff like that. That starts making people less competent because now they're trying to do all these other things to be safe instead of basically keeping your finger off the trigger and pointing in a safe direction. Like when you're not actively shooting, that's all you have to do. Finger off, safe direction. Treat it like it's loaded. That should have just been the thing going on already. Know your target, what's in between, around, and beyond. That's for when you're shooting, right? Now, the other bad part about adding extra safety rules is the more rules you add, the more nervous these people become, and they're more worried about getting in trouble for stuff. Like, for instance, the dropping your gun. Now I'm not allowed to drop my gun. Now, dudes shooting themselves, like you're not good at catching guns falling, okay? Unless you're a psycho who practices that. And even then, I would hope you were practicing it with an unloaded gun or an airsoft gun. And be dangerous. And if you with an unloaded gun or an airsoft gun, your brain doesn't have the connection that it needs, that it's a real gun that is actually loaded. So your brain still is going to treat it differently. There's many drills you can do to see. Just think, how nervous would you be if you're laying on the ground and a dude took a rubber knife and dropped it? You could probably get pretty good at catching that. Now take a real knife, a real sharp knife, hold that above the guy and drop that. And react the same as he did with the rubber knife. And this all goes back to like, again, there's 4 rules. We follow those in class. You have to all understand that those have to be broken. Basically, if falling to an unacceptable outcome, then you need to competently break them. Now you can look at, treat every guns are for load. If you're securing a gun in an active shooter situation, you might unload it, separate the ammo and the gun, and continue on. Might be a thing, whatever. When you dry fire, you're not treating it like it's loaded because your brain knows it's unloaded. Dropping my mic. All right. Safe direction, hostage shot. You're probably going to flag the hostage. Like, try finding hostage shots on the internet where the hostage doesn't flagged. And then I could continue on with the rest. Know your target, what's in between or on beyond. Are we going to yell at everyone in Vietnam that they were unsafe because they shot at the bushes? All right. Now, that was my 2 cents on gun safety. I'm trying to really spread that message. Focus.
Sorry for the delay,
good, bro.
Yeah, sorry for the delay there. So, by the way, I do want to touch on something that you are saying though about like the 4 firearm safety rules. So this is, like I said, there's good parts and bad parts to competition here. One of the good parts is it makes you really learn what's in your target's foreground, your target, and what it's in its background, because shoot throughs count. Unless you're a FUD in an IDPA match, then they, for whatever reason, will argue with you that shoot throughs don't count. Even though it says clearly in the rules. But for instance, so if say you're at a match, right, and you hit a hostage. Now, I think you should get a 0 for that stage, straight up. You should not get a score for that stage, and it should tank your score altogether. Do I think you should get DQ'd? I think it's one of those learning experiences. Now, different competitions can do different things, but I think you should just get a 0 straight up for that particular stage and learn from it, continue on with the rest of the match. But in USPSA, I think it's minus 10 points or something like that, which I know it doesn't make sense to a lot of people here. They do hit factor. IDPA does points plus time. Some of you guys might be thinking points plus time is a better way to measure stuff. It's not. Believe it or not, if you want to measure if you're getting any better, hit factor is the way to go. If you want to make a standard, points plus time does make sense. But as a general rule, if you want to see if you're getting better, hit factor is the way to go. But anyway, now that minus 10 could tank your score, but also if you're 10 seconds faster than everybody, at the competition, did that 10 points really hurt you? Maybe.
Yeah. So a shot.
If you're shooting major power factor. Yeah, but I did fast. Not only that, there's also this gamer thing where it's there's a points difference between major power factor and minor power factor. Minor power factor is basically 124 and under. I'm not going to do the math for you. You guys can look that shit up. All right. Major power factor is 165 and above. And so, but this is a way so the guys that have, larger calibers and more recoil can be more competitive. I don't give a fuck if you want to be more competitive. Life's an open game. All right. So as far as I'm concerned, you picked your poison. I'm sorry you chose a 45. I'm sorry you chose a 40. All right. Get better.
I would punish them for choosing.
Now, do I think you should have a
40? They should be DQ'd immediately.
You should be.
Yeah. Like, why don't you just bring him up?
No shit. Like, I don't back to this fun mentality. And the only reason why 40 still exists is because of gamers and cops that don't know any better. Yeah. 100%. That's the only reason that caliber still exists. All right. It's the same with 357 SIG, 9mm Dillon, all these stupid calibers out there. The only reason that they exist is because the competition world has latched onto them for some reason. Well, actually, I know the reason. So they can meet power factor, but they still have a little bit more ammunition in the. Shut the fuck up. All right, go get a real gun. Go get a dime.
Yeah. Stop thinking you're special.
But yeah. So another bad thing about competition. Let me start by saying this is the divisions. I hate divisions. To me, if you're having a gunfight, centric, like personal defense, civilian centric thing, life is I don't know if bro's got an AK around the corner. I don't know if bro's got, this some compact fucking 25 from the 1920s, all right, that he's just marking people with. I don't know. All right, but life's an open field, and you got what you got. So I think all things should be open, and this also allows people to actually try out new gear that's carryable. And I think there should be. Let me take back. There should be 2 divisions. One is duty. One is 3. Sorry, 3. Duty, concealed, and Competition. Competition is just the gamer shit that's unregulated and whatever. Duty, it has to be in a duty style holster, i.e., level 2 or above. It must shoot duty rounds. Cannot be modified past a certain amount. Nothing internally safety taken out or anything like that, and must be shot with a, excuse me, like a duty rig of some kind. All right, and then concealed has to be concealed. All right, you got IDPA concealed. None of that gay shit. All right, like I can't stand IDPA. Like if you can't tell, I do not like IDPA. I don't like IDPA because uh, they game they gamed it so much, but the fuds that live there are like, oh, this teaches you for the streets. Shut up with your fishing vest. Absolutely not. All right. Um, concealed is inside the waistband, or it's an outside the waistband holster that hugs you, like the old school Galpol pancake holsters and stuff like that. That's a real like outside the waistband concealment holster. Must be under a shirt. And it must pass the snuff test. I must be able to look at you and not immediately guess that you have a gun. All right, that's concealed to me. Um, if you're running around with a Blade Tech holster and whatnot that sticks out 3 inches from your, that's not concealed. Stop. If you're running around and the only way you can conceal it is a fishing vest or a heavy coat, it's not concealed. Stop. All right, you're being ridiculous, and you know you are. All right, but
So
you're
you're
too old to
saying,
understand what the internet is and how to be made fun of.
so you would be against like a guy concealing an AK with a drum under a trench coat? That might
I
be a
mean,
cool
if you want to play the bad guy for the day, it might be a cool revision. I'll give you that one, but you can go under the competition load for as far as I'm concerned. But like I said, so to me, I think and like everything done to the gun under that umbrella would make sense to me. But I also don't think that competition, like the competition style, should get any kind of like framework to it because it is just a game at that point. And no matter what, it's going to be a game. All right,
Yeah.
I cannot stress this enough, guys. Competition is just a game. It's not prepping you for anything. It is merely practicing skills so you can get better at it. All right.
Now,
No matter, I don't care what branch. Go ahead.
so with games like I do gunfight. I do it at my gym where
Mhm.
we're not shooting, we're just using dummy guns, and then I do it here at my place with my students where we are shooting each other with airsoft, and it's more meant to teach all the stuff outside of marksmanship. I do try to harp on grip and explain some stuff about aiming and target focus, moving your eyes first, but it's like,
Mhm.
oh no, I'm not trying to teach marksmanship with what are essentially toys, right? Um, but there
Mhm.
and there's so you can find value in games, and like, hey, like, okay, here's a question that I've been wanting to ask you particularly. Um, if a
Okay.
dude were to spend a year and say every weekend he goes and does this thing, would he be more prepared for a gunfight if he played airsoft every weekend or if he shot USPSA and he got really good at shooting too? Say he got both good at airsoft and got good at
Ooh.
USPSA.
Okay. Oh, if he did
No, no,
both,
sorry. So we got one guy
or if he
doing
if he
airsoft,
did
one
one or the
guy
other.
doing USPSA. They're both really good every weekend for a year.
Okay. So, God, this is actually a really hard. This is harder to answer than you would think. All right. So on the side, the dude that's doing the airsoft, you're learning. It's not kind of the right way, but you're learning a different mindset of I must maneuver, overcome, and outthink whatever I'm trying to hit. All right. You don't get that in competition. All right. Competition is just a cardboard target. Not only with airsoft, you're learning a three-dimensional target, which I know we've been shooting two-dimensional targets forever. All right. I don't want to harp on this too much, but the amount of people I see that on a weird angle will still try to hit an A zone, all right, it's incorrect because you're thinking of a 2D object. All right, 3D, if I say I'm at a weird angle, all right, A zone would be right here, but I need to hit through the arm into here. All right, people don't move the A zone with it. All right, me at a slight oblique angle. All right, A zone would be right here, but I now need to make a C zone hit to make a solid hit through.
Yeah,
So
we're being
and like little things
surgical
like
and
that, people like you won't get.
we're being surgical
Yeah.
and
So
targeting
and that's
organs
the
in the
thing.
fight.
Yes, and that's something the airsofter like. Now, mind you, I know he's not blowing the guy's brains out or anything, but conceptually, in order for him to make a hit, he's going to have to aim for the meatiest part, right? That's something you're going to get in competition. Now, the downside is airsoft does not have near the same recoil or accuracy potential. Now, airsoft within 15 yards, 25 yards, you can generally get reasonable accuracy out of. All right, and there are airsoft guns that the slides will move, the bolts will move, but either way, though, you're not getting that recoil management and a lot of techniques that are just old and whatnot will be effective with that because you don't need to worry about recoil management. And not only that, a lot of airsofters track the BB, they don't track their sights. As now let's go over to the competition side. I now have to be faster than everybody else. I need to work within the bounds giving to me, so I have to play within this field. I'm allowed to, as a general rule, do a stage brief, a stage walk, which no matter what anybody says, you actually get that every day. If you go to a restaurant, you get a stage walk. You get to walk in there, you get to look around, all right, see who's in there, and sit down. And the entire time, if you're just like anybody else, you play the what if game.
Yep.
What if a bomb goes off over there, or this, and the other? You play the what if game. Oh, that guy looks sketchy. I wonder, does he have like weird cancer or something I need to worry about? Like some like you have all these little things that you actually get to do, and competition will kind of teach you that to a little bit. I need to walk here. I need to put my foot here. I need to move this direction. I can't get around this. Oh, there's something in this way. If I shoot through this, it's going to hurt this. You don't get that in airsoft because shoot throughs are not a thing. Um, Stuff flicking off vegetation is just not a thing. Um, so and not only that, in competition, you get these very hard skills of I can shoot very fast, recoil management. I'm talking about at high levels. We're going to say this. You're doing this week in, week out. You're kind of dedicated. However, now the bad things you have. You're probably not using cover correctly. You may not be thinking about a better presentation. You may not be thinking about not making jarring movements in order to stand and deliver. You might just stand and deliver because that's the most advantageous shooting position versus moving your ass and getting off the X, as it would, were to say. You may think you might have an overconfidence in your ability, and as the saying goes, rats come in packs. All right, if there's one bad dude, there's probably plenty of bad dudes, and your stand and deliver mentality may make you more Swiss cheese than a human. So I want, like I said, this is kind of hard because the hard skills on shooting, there's a reason why they're there, and I've seen a lot of airsofters that can do stuff, all right, very well in airsoft because they can get away with it. I've seen the teacup grips. I've seen the hand behind, the thumb behind slides. I've seen these kind of random things because like I said, we all go enjoy different things. Um, so like I said, it just because that part's not there, it makes me hesitant to say them. But I also know that if you only competition shoot, that's the only thing in your world, you have some very bad habits.
Mm.
You could win. All right, could win. You have a higher likelihood than Joe Schmo who doesn't shoot competitions and maybe shoots 20 rounds a year. All right, like the average gun shooter. You probably have a better chance than that guy. All right, but I love with you. I think if I gave a day's class to the airsoft shooter, to like anywhere from Thunder Wrench, your pistol class, tactical response. If I gave, just try to take that back. Take that back. I'm going to take you guys kind of out of the equation because they already got the tactics part and the mindset part. I'd give them to like Scott Jelinski or Tim Harris, something like that, something that's performance wise, that's going to get them up to snuff really quick. And I think in a 4 hour class, they would blow away most competition shooters with a 4 hours tactics class. If I gave you a competition shooter, you tactical response, anything said, hey, you got 4 hours, make them ready for a gunfight. Again, they have the hard skills, but there will be so many bad habits that must be broken in order to succeed.
What do you think?
And
Do you think the airsofter taking pistol skills 1, pistol cheat codes, do you think that would prepare him? Or do you think you would send him to Scott or someone that's pure performance?
So the only reason I would send them to Scott that's like pure performance is, and it's not a slight against you or anything.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you have a different focus that they're already with, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah.
They're already with. I have to shoot a human, a 3-dimensional object. I have no problem putting sights on, pressing a trigger, and going. But now I just need the hard skills, literal hard skills, to make my gun handling better. But if I had a competition shooter, I would send them to somebody like you, Tactical Response, Thunder Ranch, like that, because again, the focus comes back of, we need to rear you back in, and I need you to reset for a second. I understand that you can shoot 0.1 splits. I got that. Cool beans, man. That's not what I want right now. I want you to think of what you're doing. I want you to stop jerking around every time you go to pull a gun. I want you to move your ass and not that casual walk with a nice, proper, upright, chest high look, which is very efficient. But when you're getting shot at, people don't tend to walk upright. People tend to want to duck. And this is, again, something that airsofters kind of understand. If I have incoming fire, I don't want to be hit. Make myself small. Whereas competition shooters, it's very rare that I see them make themselves small, unless it's a prop or something that kind of requires them to get small, if that makes any kind of sense.
Right. Yeah.
Because again, that world is all speed. So
I want to hit on something real quick. Because it's funny. The word tactics has so much stigma around it, right? And to the point where it's like guys that I train with are like, I don't teach tactics. And my argument is, you do, right? I think USPSA does teach tactics, and I think Airsoft does teach tactics. But what are tactics? We have to define it to know the word we're saying, and basically using available means to achieve a desirable outcome, right? Jaeger would say doing things that give you more opportunities to shoot the bad guy than he has opportunities to shoot you, right?
Yeah, correct.
Now, fighting principles that I teach, and it's kind of a thing I'm putting in here and there, but it's especially there in the Proving Grounds pistol. Pressure, position, movement, barriers, right? These things overlap in some ways, but it's more of a way to communicate. The ability to shoot is ballistic pressure. Now, you can overwhelm someone with ballistic pressure and win, but it shouldn't be your only thing. So a USPSA guy that is fucking great at it, he is good at ballistic pressure. But in context, like you were saying, the movement they do is not real movement. Like I call it like static movement. It's like, yeah, you're moving so slow, you're not actually moving. Like if I can track you like that, that's not real movement. As far as becoming hard to shoot. Now, like a SWAT team entering a room, they're kind of moving like that. Maybe a little bit faster, but I mean, take a CUB course, they'll be like, stop running, and their movement is fluid, but they're also putting 4 or 5 guns in that room. So they don't have to move fast.
Yeah.
And for us dealing with the screw bag at the gas station who just really wants to get high or whatever scenario, you might have to fucking move. Watch gunfights in Chicago. Tell me how fast they're moving. And then also look at how many of them actually get shot. When they start really moving, motherfuckers don't get shot as much. Now so that's applying ballistic pressure, right? Like a USPSA shooter would be really good at that, two-handed with minimal movement. They can post pause, like they post pause, shoot, run real fast, post pause, and shoot again. That may work in a gunfight too. Like people do it, you know. But then the airsofter, he is able to diagnose what the other guy is doing better, I would argue, because it's actual person over there. And he's going to experience different people every time. So he's going to have a bigger data set of what people are going to do. So then, in a way, he should be able to plan what he does next better. He'll be lacking on ballistic pressure, probably, more likely. You know, but he needs to learn that. But, you know, it would also be assuming that he would never watch YouTube videos to learn good grip or something, right? Because there's a potential for that to happen in this imaginary thing. But the other thing is skills under pressure, right? So as in, how well do you hold up under pressure? Now, guys will say like, oh, there's no shot timer in a gunfight and it's not real pressure. Well, I would say, you know, like a quarterback trying to fucking, you know, win the Super Bowl, or a high level shooter trying to fucking pay for a house, you know, trying to keep his job. I'd say there's pressure there, but there's not the same pain pressure, right? It's not the same. I'm inflicting harm on someone and I'm trying to keep them from inflicting harm on me. And then the thing they're both missing is, what the fuck happens if I don't go home today? What happens if I fail right now and my kid gets abducted or killed? And there's a whole nother level to it. But yeah, and I think you nailed it. Like, and it's just like kind of what we were saying, is there's good and bad to each.
Yeah,
and you can't have just one without the other.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's one thing I'm trying to, at least on my channel, I'm trying to bring back to people. Like, I do think being able to perform on demand is something you should be able to do just as a day-to-day shooter. Now, what that performance is, we can discuss that to the cows come home. All right, because everybody's got their own different standards. However, I do think to an extent, competition shooters miss some of the marks. Now, again, you're gonna get better under pressure because, like at your class, people just watching you do something is going to be some kind of pressure. And now you have people behind you that all signed up for the same thing and that are trying to outdo you. All right, it's time to perform. Sink or swim, dude. All right. With that, but with that said, Airsoft, man, has a team that he has to support. So he has the back thought of, oh, if I fail, shit, dude, man, behind me is going to have to pick up the extra pressure because I have to walk back to the base, tag in, and walk my happy ass back out here, and I might not be in position to know what's going on anymore. So, like, again, there's little things that come from each side. Now, I think the best thing for people to do is possibly, actually, let me scale that back a little bit. All right, so what I would recommend people to do is, if you have a choice between a class of either force on force or a regular pistol class, take the force on force class first. That's, to me, that wakes people up very quickly. All right, because now, mind you, you already know that you need to take a class, but now you need to know what you're messing up on. Is it your tactics or is it your hard skills? All right,
and you learn
so you can kind of you learn very quickly. So those are the two things. So you should take both those first. Then I think you should start competing. All right. I don't care what you compete in, either steel matches, USPSA. If you have to, IDPA, sure. You know, two gun, whatever you're interested in, PRS. You know, something that catches your interest because it'll transfer over to some. I think it should be pistol based for the most part. I've never seen a good pistol shooter that was a bad rifle shooter, but I've seen a lot of rifle shooters that are pretty pathetic pistol shooters.
Yeah.
I think it translates a lot better. The amount of people I time with, well, if you give me a rifle, I can, you know, the gnat's ass at 300 yards. I don't believe you, but okay. What can you do with a pistol? Are you carrying around you can't. Do you have an AR with you at all times? Oh no, you carry the subcompact POS. Oh, okay. So, can you shoot with? Oh, that's another thing. Oh my goodness. This is the one thing that probably irritates me the most about competition shooters is they'll have this tricked out gun, all right? Or even not even a tricked out gun. They'll have like a Glock 19 or something they're gonna shoot the competition with. And you know what they fucking put in their waistband? A J frame. Right. Hey, when's the last? And they'll brag like, "Oh, I can do like a sub 2 second bill drill." Okay, man. Do you carry that ever? Oh, that's too big. Okay, what can you do with the J frame? Oh, I just run a couple drills here and there, so you can't. Okay, what are you telling me here, man?
Yeah, I just had a
like
student
the amount of time.
yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I had a student that's been with me for a while. Like he was there the first year I was teaching, but then he had a long break in training, and I was like, "Wear your carry gun, wear it the way you normally do." And as we're going through the Pistol Skills 1 curriculum, he was like, "Yeah, this is fucking hard. I think I'm gonna get a holster so I can carry my big gun." And so now he's going back to carrying a full size M&P. And it's like, hey, this is one of those things too, where it's like mindset, tactics, skills, gear. The gear matters. Your mindset has a big factor in that.
Mm-hmm.
Your gear also can, affect your skills and affect what tactics you can use.
Now, I will say this. I've seen grandmasters, I've seen masters, I've seen A class, even B class shooters like myself. All right, that can run small guns very well because they do have a better base for what they can do. However, I'm trying to think of how to word this. So this kind of goes back to, say you are 100% all the time, but that one day, shit kicks off and whatnot, maybe you're only 80% as efficient as you are. Where's that 80%? All right. Now, if we're taking the world into consideration and 100% is the absolute best shooter, and you're 1%, your 80% may not fucking count worth a damn. All right. But say that 100% and you're closer to the 80% on his end, your 80% might be the world over. You might be winning wars. But when you use stuff that you don't compete with, that you don't shoot, that you don't do whatever practice with, now it's knocked that down another 20%. We'll be generous here. All right, 10%. You're now working at 60% of what you could be. Is that a risky? Because if 60% is failing, at least I think it is. Is it still failing? No, it's a D. It's a D minus. That's still passing. Okay, you're still a doctor, but still, all right. Is it really something you want to? Is it really something you want to depend on that D minus doctor? Coming to do a surgery. All right, I passed med school. That's fucking good for you. Where's the Asian? Give me that one. All right, Joe Smo from the fucking boonies that made it through med school. I don't particularly care. You know what I mean? I want the Jewish doctor. I don't want I don't want Bobby. So, but you get what I'm getting at, though. Like, competition shooters, I think to an extent have a bad frame of reference of how good their skills are and how little they denigrate with shooting. Now, I will say that another great thing though that I will say that competition will get you. Now, airsoft will do the same thing, kind of, but something that competition does give you is violence of action. All right, that swift movement, getting into position quickly, getting on the gun quickly and whatnot. It's not something I see that's taught well often in classes or in airsoft. A lot of times, airsofters are very cautious coming around stuff, or they're very cautious going into things, even though it's a known thing. It could be a known thing, but you'll see these airsofters be really cautious about it because there is a pain. There's a pain penalty for failing. This is a good and bad thing, but that violence of action from competition shooting, that immediate come in, gun up, get on it, let's roll, could be a great benefit. Again, that ballistic pressure. It's really hard to train, and that's actually something that was really hard for me to learn. Having taken several classes, I didn't really learn it until I started shooting competition. Because in the back of my mind, my thought was, oh, but if I get shot, I'm not useful. But in the same breath, if I don't get there in time, I'm letting other things happen that could have been very well taken care of. It's always the stuff in the back of your mind, like say you leave in your car 30 seconds late and you hit a deer. Well, if you had left 30 seconds early, would you have hit the deer? Maybe.
Yeah. So this is
If and vice versa.
this is something Sonny talks about with like I'm not sure if it originally came from him or if it originally came from Musashi. I'm sure Tom Holyby is listening too. He quotes Musashi all the time, but it's it's being in rhythm, right? It's not like the competition shooters are good at being fast, right? An airsofter being more cautious is
Mhm.
going to be too slow, and that happens in force on force scenarios as well. But you should be able to do the slow part and the fast part. If you can't do one or the other, you're going to be out of rhythm. Like a dude, like an airsofter, just being like, yeah, I'm just waiting for him to come out there, and then he's already finger on, aimed at the spot that he's expecting you to be at, comes out, fucking, he's going to get smoke checked. At the same time, like an active shooter situation, fucking, you don't have time to go slow right now. Like you need to get there and stop the killing.
Mhm.
So that's interesting. I haven't heard about the violence of action part for competition.
So, but that mind you, this kind of comes with a higher level of ability because so I want to say C class and below, you're not going to see that. If you never develop yourself past a C class shooter, you're really not going to see that much. Um, B class and above. So B class, as a general rule, I will say this: B class can win national events, 100%. All right, I'm a B class shooter. All right, and I've won local events, big events. I've won against grandmasters, masters, and the whole 9 yards. However, I am nowhere near as consistent as the GM, the master, and the A class shooter. I'm just not as consistent. That's what will hold me back. So, and by the way, you should to get your classification, you do classifiers, and those are often stand and deliver stages. However, they're not always. There's some stages where they require movements, require multiple shots and whatnot. However, as just a general rule, classifier stages are a stand and deliver where it goes through different hard skills such as reloading, transitions, follow up shot. Excuse me, follow up shots, and maybe set parameters on what to shoot that you have to kind of follow along with. So unfortunately for me, I'm not super great at those, but overall I'm fairly decent at just sticking. I learned was well something I learned dirty is marksmanship is king. All right, you can't outspeed a miss. It's not the fastest shot, it's the fastest hit. Uh, and then I learned quickly the violence of action, the commitment to I have a plan. We're going to stick to this. All right, and good, bad, and different. That's where the cars lay. Now I've lost stages doing that too, where I had something in my mind. I was like, oh, I can do no problem, and then just flub the bed. Where I've just completely, dog watered. Even GMs just coming up with something and committing uh, to my stage. Now, am I going to outshoot somebody like a Ben Stoger or even in who's the X-Ray Alpha guy, Matt something?
Mhm.
I'm probably not going to outshoot them because they are all about the performance shooting and they're really good shooters and they can teach people how to become really good really fast. Same with Scott Jelinski. Scott Jelinski is an amazing shooter. His chances of me being able to outshoot him anytime soon very very slim. Um, but and Scott will even tell you that that's not the end all be all. Like he's got a lot of mobility issues. I think he's got two knee replacements and whatnot. So he has to lean on um, ability to do the ballistic pressure a little bit more than I don't have two knee replacements. I don't have Scott's in I want to say in his 50s. Please, Scott, if you're watching this, please don't hang me if I got that wrong. He's got more age on him. He's got more miles on him. I don't really have that issue. So I have other things that I can commit to and I can do just outright, if that makes any kind of
Yeah, it's kind
sense.
of you know, if you can, like the mobility, also hand-to-hand skills, and there's verbal and low light, all that, but
Mhm.
like in a sense of fighting, hand-to-hand mobility, working cover, stuff like that. But then like a dude who's old, a guy in a wheelchair, they have to rely on ballistic pressure. Now, one of the things, and this is kind of like what I alluded to earlier, and some of the things that we did at Sonny's place, which I'm wearing his shirt right now. Um, more getting out of the static. This is where I want to
Mhm.
push our circle to being able to shoot well while moving well. So like the
Mhm. Yeah.
shooting on the move drills we did at the end of
Yeah,
pistol
that was
skills. Like I would say you were the best shooter in the class easily. I think that one guy, I forget his name. I think it was Brandon. I'm not sure, but um, I think
yeah, the newer shooter, yeah, outshot me by miles doing the same drill.
on the shooting on the move, right? And so that's one of the things I've been thinking about.
Yeah, murdered me.
I'm gonna be doing a class with a master class USPSA shooter. Coast to Coast Tactical is the company. It's on my website, on my calendar.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be doing a class with him. I'm really interested to see how well he is at shooting on the move and one-handed too. Because it's something that's like there's just a few guys, and as far as I know, it's mostly our circle. It might only be our circle because I don't see it anywhere else that actually teach how to move and shoot at the same time and going to one-handed, and where there's advantages to that. Like I got a whole bunch of people and interesting. He put the rifle in the other hand, get good at that too, so you can use cover better, move in more directions. If your hand gets fucked up, you
Mhm.
can continue, and if your eye gets fucked up, you can continue. And it's like, what are tactics? In my brain, tactics are logic. I would apply logic to my fight to win, right? Like
Mhm.
move so I'm harder to shoot, I can get a better position,
Yes.
put stuff between me and bullets so the bullets don't hit me. I don't see what the stigma is on that, but um so what I'm thinking is like
See. I don't either. I don't. Sorry.
um so what I'm is like you're good. You could with like the structures that are out there and the teaching methods. Like I haven't trained with Scott Jenlinski, but I've trained with Jared Reston, who they work together, and at least from the videos I see with Scott, they're very similar. I do plan on training with Scott eventually. I like him. But I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
with the formulas they have to get people good at shooting, anyone who is of able body and mind, you could get them to being like a 90% shooter if they put in their work. Or maybe because you see
Yeah.
things I don't. We'll say top 80, but population wise, gun owner wise, I would say it's top 90. To get to what I do, you require some more autism, more work, and I want to get to a level far beyond where I'm at. I hate where I'm at right now, as far as shooting on the move and one
Mhm.
handed, even though it's like not bad. Um, the thing I'm thinking is you can get anyone to being that top 90 with the formulas that exist. However, it's still two handed, it's still
Yeah.
static. And to incorporate more movement, one handed, and being able to do other stuff, it's going to take a lot more work. And if you can get someone up to like a top 90 while shooting on the move one handed. I don't think the top shooters in the world are capable of that, or at least we'll say masterclass guys. I would say they're probably not, simply because they don't do it. However, they have a lot of good data where they could do it. It's just not a thing they need to do, so they don't. Right. And so that's kind of like the direction I'm
So
trying to push our circle as far as shooting performance is like, yeah, the stack stuff matters, but that already has existed for forever. How do we get these guys moving fast while shooting accurately and possibly fast too. Because as soon as those feet start moving, man, you learn it's not just about the hands, the guns, and the shoulders and the head. Like the stance is completely different. And when I taught with Sonny last weekend, he spent 30 minutes on how to lift your foot on the first step. And this is something where it's like, like an airsofter and a competition shooter, they can come together and learn each other's stuff. Martial arts, the way Sonny is able to manage the balance of his weight and keep the transfer of motion from his body out of his gun, like the way that he moves is completely different than anyone else. And it's watching him do it is quite amazing. And just basically imagine we should all get to a point where we can hold a glass of water while sprinting. What would that look like?
All right. So I'll say this. I will say this. So at least from Scott Jelinski's point of view. Now I haven't had this in many other classes, but from Scott Jelinski, he does show you different ways to hold the pistol one-handed, left and right, because he's found even thumb position can change it. Now different classifiers. Again, this goes back to classification for competitions. Different classifiers will have you shoot, strong hand, weak hand, so on and forth. Not a lot of them, but there's enough of them where you might have to worry. And sometimes in stage briefs, you might be holding something in your other hand to shoot, that you have to drop, and so on and so forth. But so it doesn't pop up often. I would like it to pop up more, one-handed stuff, or weak hand stuff. However, again, logistically for some competitions, it's just not feasible. But so he'll show you like different things. Now, let me start with saying this. Scott was great in a lot of things. Movement, he taught very differently than you. So, and goes back with Matt Ulwich, which he's got a 13-letter last name. I'm sorry, dude. I've never learned how to pronounce your last name. All right. Love you. All right. So, dude, grandmaster and everything. He taught movement in a different way as well. And this comes from the composition side, is I need you to make a fluid motion while going to the next position.
Yeah.
Because for you to move and shoot at a snail's pace, then you come to a full stop, prep, come, bang, bang, regain your momentum next position. We did this on the shot timer. No matter what, it's going to be quicker when you're already in motion. And I've actually won stages.
I love that.
At 2-gun events. Yeah, based on that principle. Now, with that caveat, though, there's never a progression from that. All right, yours is literally the first class I've ever been to, and this is going from every other class I've ever taken. Literally, the first class I've ever been to, where the context now was move your ass. Because again, it's nice making hits. What's really nice though, keeping your blood inside you.
Seeing your family, yeah,
so little thing like again, this sounds silly, but from like I've never had that context. Let me rephrase that. I'm trying to think of how to explain this. The way you taught movement was just from something so much different, and alone is a reason why anybody should come train with you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm not trying to like fluff you up here or anything like that, but that was a huge like. Why did I never fucking like her? But my stupid ass never figured, oh, maybe I should haul ass. All right, take the 1 or 2 good shots I'll get while hauling ass versus let me move smoothly and get 10 shots. All right, that doesn't sound like a good trade, but honestly, in context, it does, because I now become a much harder target for even a spray and pray person. All right.
Well, and I'm gonna give Duke credit real quick, because the guys that I learned that style of movement from are Gary Mark, Travis Dynamics, and Sonny Fazekas, Forward Train Concepts. And so I am what I'm teaching on that is the child of them teaching that. And I'm really focusing on it now because I seriously see potential to fucking save lives for it and advance the art with it. And that's like the thing I was talking about with I'm going to be doing with Calvin. I'm going to be stealing from them. I'm also stealing from Lewis at Tactical Response and Elcar Concepts. He has a moving target system. I'm fucking stealing that. That's great. It's literally pulleys and a moving target. And it's like, God damn it. Like fucking, and that's the other thing. How often do you guys really shoot at moving targets in competition? You know, because everyone says like target transitions are
more than you think,
but it's not, you know.
Believe it or not, more than you'd think.
Okay.
A lot of places you go to now have very cool different target stands. Like now I've been shooting those for a while now. There's at least one, almost always at least one at USPSA matches. I've never seen them at an IDPA match. I'm sure they exist. I've just never seen one there. And I've never seen one at a two-gun match because two guns are normally more focused on rifle stuff and normally more distance on rifle stuff. So I'm not saying they're not out there. I just haven't witnessed it yet. But in USPSA especially, at least one stage has a fuck you target where you guys have seen the Texas Star, obviously. It's a different type of moving target, but it's still a target you need to track with sights, predict, and shoot. I've seen the whole pulley system where something just slides across and you have to put rounds on. Another channel, if you're ever interested in Delta 34, has a match breakdown of a recent match he did, which if you ever get a chance, check that video out. That's actually, I think, how a lot of matches should be, but we'll get into that at a different point in life. And then you also have targets where it's, there's another one. There's other targets where it'll flip, and then once it's gone. Or they'll have it where they clamshell and have two no shoots over top, and you got to get it before even that back no shoot comes up because pass-throughs count. Remember. So I will say this: at competition shooters, we'll get a lot more than just the average shooter on tracking targets and stuff like that. Not as much as an airsofter by any stretch of the imagination.
One thing
but you'll at least have one stage.
Sorry. One thing with airsoft too, though, is like, man, I was trying to use it as hard as I could to get good at shooting on the move. I was like dedicating like at least an hour every morning in my yard to it. But the BB is so affected by your movement and wind that it's like, if you're going to try to use it, it has to be fucking unreasonably close. But that could be awesome considering guys don't try to rob you from 25 yards away. Continue, please.
Yeah. That's also like a really good point. Ooh, here. So here's another thing for competition that's kind of in the negative, but not in the negative. It's more for a safety issue. Is there's a lot of times there's artificial rules that need to be set because of safety. For like I said, the 180 and whatnot, but also you can't shoot steel within 10 yards. And again, that's more for safety than anything else, which does make sense. However, like at steel matches and whatnot, they'll put it at 10 yards where you need to shoot. Why not go to 25 yards and make these targets harder then if you have this artificial thing that you need to do? A lot of steel matches just won't do that. I think like max will be like 15 yards sometimes. Another thing artificially that competition will do was have a max distance you'll shoot, which is 25 yards for IDPA and USPSA. Just kind of don't have the room for like a 50-yard shot or a 100-yard shot. However, it's a thing. If you shoot competition, like, I don't ever need 5 yards because I'll never have a target out further than that. Is something you'll run into quite often. Like I said, there's a good and bad thing with it. Another thing that I do find kind of bad with competition, but you kind of have to do it for one sake of brevity in the stage to make sure everybody's off of the range before somebody starts, is walls are just mesh. And I don't know about you, but I've never met a mesh wall not
Uh,
shoot through.
that was another one I pissed
Again,
people off
safety.
with.
There's always this one jackass that's still back there taping targets.
Oh yeah, I made a meme that being like the Drake meme where it's like, ooh, and it was a tarp, and then it was
Yeah.
like a mesh wall. Like, and I'm like, yeah, that, and I get the safety thing, but at the same time, like there would be so much value if the no shoots were people. Not saying let's do that. Not saying let's do that.
Yeah.
But again, if we're talking about being prepared for real violence and even true violence, which gets a lot worse than what I would consider real violence, like fucking have you ever shot past a person? That goes back to the thing you're saying. Like, are you fooling yourself right now? Because it's like it could be, it could be that they're not carrying the same gun, but also just like there's no pressure applied to you besides the mental pressure you're allowing to be put on you, which does matter. It does matter. But I don't want people to go into a gunfight and it to be their first time shooting past real people that should not be shot.
With that, and I think competition to an extent has that effect. Again, we have to, in the confines of I am trying to get better as a shooter, I am trying to get better as a defensive person, a person trying to defend the world, myself, and my family. You kind of get a little bit of value of that because there's a fucking no shoot right there. Why would you put that right there? All right, hold on, let me angle. All right, so you do have those thoughts every now and then. The same with like us. I do think IDPA kind of does a better job. This is like one of the few things they do a better job of no shoots because they have targets with painted black hands low, and that's it. The hands are like this. They're low on the target, so it's not like they're up here or anything like that. So you have to actually visually see it. USPSA just flips the target around, and it's a white target, so you just can't. You don't. So you just have this big, very obvious. IDPA will sometimes be very clever with how they set up a no shoots, and it'll be low, but it's all the same color. So you actually have to be looking for little signaries. IDPA also will sometimes have a painted black, what looks like a Glock on the targets, and you'll have a bunch of targets that the only target you're allowed to shoot is the one with the painted on Glock. So sometimes those can be used very well. Sometimes a lot of times though, the gamer comes out and they gamify it too much, which is the kind of the unfortunate bit of it. If I was to make competition, just never mind you. USPSA, IDPA, two gun, all them should absolutely. They're fun. Go enjoy them and whatnot. I think though, if we as a community, just when I say community, let me phrase it. I'm not part of the gun community. I'm part of just getting better. I'm part of preparedness. The mindset. The best. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not part of the gun community. The gun community is full of a bunch of FUDs. I think something that I would think would be better is one, blind stages. Absolutely, you don't get to see the stage, which I know I said earlier. You get to play stage plan whenever you go somewhere. However, how long do you get the stage plan? All right, you walking into a restaurant, there might be something already going on, and it's now time to act. Not only that, it games it too much. It's too easy to game it in static targets, even targets that do move something. All right, it's too easy to see these things, and it's way too easy to game it. I think all targets, like you said, should have a realistic face put over top. It doesn't have to be a real human face, but just realistic. Something like a Valor Ridge target, like face, would probably just be fine. And hold on one second. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. And then the target should be covered with a T-shirt of some kind, so you can't see the zone that you have to hit. You just need to know where to hit. If you hit a no shoot, you should be get a 0 for that stage. You don't get DQ'd. And then obviously we'll keep the DQs for everything else, just because for safety wise and whatnot. But yeah, so not to
Man, I
cut
want
this
to add
short. I just got a
something to
message from my
that.
wife asking if she go to bed.
So,
All right, go ahead.
so like, I love all that. Now, the thing I want to add to it is put an airsoft gun on every target that tracks to you, and they're all set to a certain time of like how long it takes them to shoot you. I'd love to see that. I fucking love it. But yeah.
But anyway, I hate to do this to you. My wife's asking if she can go to bed.
Hey, let's
It's
do this
been an
again
absolute
sometime.
pleasure being on here talking with you about this. Yeah, 100%. We could pick up somewhere, or even we can talk about just other training stuff going on. I appreciate you greatly for having me on. If you don't mind me signing off, remember, guys, there's no such thing as cheating. There's winning and winning easier.
I love it. Yeah, bro. I appreciate you coming on. And Sean was a great student guy too. So like
All right.
that's one thing I value. I value guys who train. Like I put a high value on that. And he was a great student. He's got a great channel too. Subscribe to him, but what I'm gonna say is only subscribe if you actually like his videos, because it's actually gonna hurt him if you subscribe and never watch his shit. So there's a video I posted, and he's got other stuff. He has a review of one of my classes, but in the description there's a video from Sean. Check that out. See what his most popular video is on his channel. Check that out. Do you have any videos to recommend from you?
You know what? Honestly, I don't really have many videos to recommend. If you know what, I take that back. Something for the community. Go check out how to clear pistol malfunctions. I've met too many people that do not know how to clear malfunctions quickly, effectively. So go check that video out. I've got like no views on it, so go check
No one
on that
watches
one.
the good shit.
Yeah, no, my informational stuff. The gear reviews. Oh, those take off no problem.
All right, bro. Well, thank you very much. I'll talk to you later.
All right, you be safe now.
Later. All right, guys. So, hey, thank you guys for watching. Man, I think I'm getting pretty good at maintaining my autism. And letting other people talk. It's a skill I'm working on. But yeah, so I want to give a shout out to TJ Bizarre, because I actually texted him a link to this. I was like, hey, I'm gonna talk about you. When we were talking about the airsoft and competition stuff and like who would be better. Again, that's a theoretical thing. I'm not saying that like, oh, airsoft's way better in competition too. I'm not doing that. I'm just theoretical thing for discussion. But TJ, he actually does both. He does airsoft, he does competition, and he does classes like mine. He took 2 of my classes, Pistol Skills 1, Pistol Cheat Codes, and which I might change the name of that again, and Red Dot Pistol. He fucking slays. If you've seen videos of a dude wearing a brown jacket and a hoodie, I put him in my videos because he did really good. And I think he serves a good example of how to approach these things. Like, he's not just worried about gun stuff. He's worried about all of it. He trains like the person you would want to come saving you. You know, the person that you'd want to come to your emergency. He trains like you would want that person to train. So you can use that as an example. Now, again, I'm gonna say it. I don't hate competition shooting. I mean, some of them are fucking wild, but there's that everywhere. Like we said, you know, hey, I served with Marines. That this year I found out that 2 of the dudes that I served with, I had been in the same platoon with from time to time, they're in prison for rape right now. There's shitheads everywhere. Okay. So, you know, and because it's funny, you can watch like nonsense from competition shooters, nonsense from tactical guys, nonsense from airsofters. We always see the bad stuff, right? But there's good and bad in everything, right? Like the classes that I teach, I'm doing a lot of work to get them to the place that I want them to be at one day, you know, which I talked about with like, I'm not satisfied with my performance on something. So I want to get to like a fucking absolute stellar level so I can show someone else how to do it. And for me to even want to be able to teach everything that I would love to be able to teach, it's like it's unobtainable, but that's a good way to set your goals, I think, too. So again, this is, the whole purpose of what I'm doing is to save lives, change the culture for the better, and advance the art. Discussions like this need to happen more. We shouldn't be pushing people out in a sense that like we reject them because their gun is wrong. They shoot competition. They watch football, something like that. We don't need everyone, certainly. Okay, like we do need to regulate. However, part of being open-minded is also going and trying to understand the why behind the other people, right? Like I've said many times, I go take classes with guys that I for sure disagree with. I'll disagree with shit during the class. Do I open my mouth and start shit talking? No, because that's inappropriate. That's being a shitty student, being a shitty representative of our culture, of our circle. So, go learn more. You have to learn from the other side too. Jaeger was always saying that. And you'll find good and bad everywhere. So find the good stuff and spread it. Show other people. Recommend that trainer or wherever it is that you learn that thing and spread it. That's how we're going to get better. And that should be our focus, is us all improving. So thank you guys for watching. I'm going to have Sean back on sometime. I've been wanting to do this live stream for quite a while. And I think it was good letting him unleash his autism too, because I think a lot came out of just letting him rant. I might prepare something a little bit more. Let me go through the comments real quick and see what we got. All right. Mark, what's up? Josh, what's up? All right. I'm going to stop saying what's up. Everyone, if I see your name, hello, because I'm going to try to make the comments part fast. I don't want people to just get bored during this. All right. Mark Curtis, when you know the way, you will see it in all things, from Musashi. Really surprised that Tom did not comment that. Tom, you have failed me for the last time. All right. Efficiently moving is what wins matches. Okay. In my opinion, you have to use a shot timer because there has to be a standard. How can you progress without knowing how long it takes you to do something? Elite units use shot timers. Yep. Now, shot timers, though, I mean, they're a good measurement tool. Overusing them is where nonsense happens. Okay. But yeah, like the whole there's no shot timer in a gunfight. Like, yeah, that's true. But there's also a measurement of time when you look at the fight afterwards. And like I said earlier, you have to stay in rhythm with the fight. However, when that rhythm, that pace picks up, you have to be able to keep up with it. There's good and bad on shot timers. They're overused for sure. Like I'm using them in my classes here and there. My favorite use of the shot timer I've seen was from Kevin Dixie, No Other Choice. I'm about to edit together my video and get that up, but he broke it down in a much more gunfighting sense. And I like the way he did it, and people should follow his example. Certificate hunters are the worst. Yep. So that's the guys that just come to class just to get the cert. They're not really trained. They're not there with a serious mindset. And that's kind of like what Sean said earlier. He would recommend taking force on force before a pistol class because you will be humbled. The fight at tactical response was the most humbling class I've ever taken. And then I got another experience like that doing the science of dynamic violence, which was Travis Dynamics and Sonny Kazikis, because it was similar to the fight in some senses, but it was pure fight. The fight is decision making. That class was fighting. I wish matches would use big boy rules where 180 didn't matter. Yep, agree. Supposed to flush NDs and melee. Okay. And I think that means you need to turn them into the government to form the rumors going around on the internet. I'm not sure what that was about. All right, safety stuff. And I'm just going to go to the bottom right now. TJ, what's up? Target transition. Jay, what's up, man? Love you. All right, I'm just gonna go to the bottom. You type any questions you got right now. I'm gonna hit these, and then I'm gonna go be with my family. Shooting them on the move is easy once you figure out how your legs don't matter when you're shooting. I think there's a lot more nuance to that. Musashi speaks about rhythm. There is no fast, there is no slow, there is only within and without rhythm. Yes. And this is why Tom needs to write a book of Musashi quotes and breaking them down, because he is fucking on it. I got a story about doctors that pass with 60%. Yeah. And I need to put some prayer time in for you, brother. It's Austin, one of my favorite students. Don't make fun of me, LOL. I shoot CZ Shadow 2 SAO in matches, but EDC a G17. Hey, bro, at least you're carrying a good gun, you know? The Shadow's probably good too. I'm just fucking around. I get it though. Yeah, you can have fun with games. Hey, I do shit that has no fucking benefit to anything in real life. I like fun too. There's nothing wrong with having fun. That was something I've been wanting to get out, but I kept letting him talk. Achilles Tactical Man Card Drill and X-Ray Alpha CQB warm-up should be the baseline standard drills. I disagree with that. And I've actually been wanting to work on developing some shooting standards, but it would also be beyond that. Cause like if I were to run a match exactly the way I would want to run it, the first drill would be blindfolded tourniquet drill onto your dominant arm in under 30 seconds while moving. And this is where mastering the fundamentals is a great way to avoid learning what's actually important. I have seen so many people that are great shooters that don't carry their gun, don't carry medical. They have the shittiest mindsets, and that's where the focus is wrong. Oh, Reaver's talking about an inside joke. All right. Go be with the old family, and when y'all visiting again, I'll be going. I'll post a link right now to my calendar. North Carolina is coming up. Again, the day before Alumni Weekend is Pistol Skills 1 Pistol Cheat Codes at Tactical Response. I'm doing that class in Ohio coming up, North Carolina coming up. And if you sign up for that, you should also take Proving Grounds Pistol. And that is a fight-based force-on-force class, but it's originally the plan was to have guys just gunfight each other really hard all day. But the thing I discovered is it's not everyone understands like movement, position, how to really utilize barriers, timing within the fight, stuff like that. So it more became where we're not shooting nearly as much at each other. We're doing a lot of dummy gun type stuff to learn more of the flow and what you should be doing within the fight. But there's plenty of shooting each other stuff. It's there. But anyways, hey, thank you guys for watching. What I plan on doing eventually is I'm going to take all these live streams I've done. They're going to be on a podcast, wherever you find podcasts, but I'm going to put them all on my podcast so that y'all can like listen to these on that app. And I think that'll be nice, especially because people don't often search for live streams. But coming up, I'm going to do some more lives. Really like doing them. Got some videos that are ready to drop. Interview with Butch Becker from Ammo Supply Warehouse. Got an interview with Eric from Barrel and Hatchet. I know I posted one that was more of a class review. This one's a review of Eric from Barrel and Hatchet. I plan on going to his class. I think it's the 11th next month. And I got some other stuff like the videos I've been dropping. So thank you guys for watching. You guys have been liking those. So I really appreciate it. I really appreciate when you guys comment and like, especially sharing them. Really goes a long way. It's not easy trying to make this shit work. So I appreciate all the help you guys put in. Like every comment, I sometimes don't have time to respond, but thank you guys for doing that. All right. Thank you for watching. Keep fighting communism. Kill all pedophiles. And remember that training's